Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is episode 102 of my brand new Comics Haul series, where I show you guys every book that I pick up at my local comic shop every single week, and I tell you everything you need to know about every single issue. So this week I've got, I think, 6 issues in total, 5 from Marvel, 1 from Boom Studios, but the Boom Studios issue came out a couple weeks ago. I'll just show it quickly at the end. So only Marvel issues for me this week. They had some really big releases this week, starting off with the biggest one, probably for a lot of people. It's an issue of an ongoing series, their flagship title, right? Amazing Spider-Man issue number 21. And the reason this is such a big issue is because, like it says on the cover, this is it, the story arc you've been waiting for. Marvel gets a little bit dramatic sometimes with their like speech bubbles on the cover and stuff. But John Romita covered there. He's doing the interior pencils also. Written by Zeb Wells once again. We've got that guest creative team that did the last couple issues off of here now. And I want to show some interior artwork here without giving away too much because basically, if you haven't been on board this new Amazing Spider-Man run so far, we've had like this mysterious looming threat of like something that happened to Peter, something that he had done that was really bad. Like, look at this huge double-page spread, right? That led to Mary Jane having, like, I guess not married, but like gotten together with this other guy, Paul, who has his own kids that she's been taking care of also, and Mary Jane and Peter Parker having split up. After like ending on a good note and moving in together and everything after the end of the last Amazing Spider-Man run, a lot of people don't really like the direction that this has been going. I'm not a big fan either, but I've got to stick it out through this arc to at least see what the deal is with like at least what like explanation they have for whatever's been going on. I know they're going through like issue number 25 and doing an oversized issue and all that. Marvel getting as much money out of this as they can. We'll see about this. I'm definitely dubious, and I might make a review of this, just like going over what actually happens, like a spoiler type thing, which I'll put out tomorrow if I do. So keep your eyes peeled for that. That's ASM number 21 though, pretty big issue of that series. Moving on though, keeping on with like the Spider-Man side of the Marvel Universe. This next issue, this is Mary Jane and Black Cat number 4. So this is just supposed to be a 5-issue miniseries. I don't know if they have plans to make this into an ongoing, if it sells well or whatever. Marvel sometimes does do that. And I've been kind of up and down about this, but the last issue I remember really enjoying. It's Jed MacKay. You can definitely rely on him for some good stuff. He's got another issue coming out this week that I'll get to in a second here. The artwork has definitely been a highlight of this series too. I'm not too familiar with the artist here. Vincenzo Caratu. Not sure if I pronounced that right, but he's been doing a good job on this miniseries, and my main problem with it, I guess, is just that it's set fully in limbo, right? Like this hell dimension, there was a big part of that Dark Web event, and although Mary Jane and Black Cat had tie-ins for like the first couple issues of this series, it's not tying in anymore, but they're still in limbo. So I really like the dynamic between these two characters. Felicia having to finally explain to Mary Jane that she's like dating Peter Parker again, right? A lot of drama between that like love triangle and everything between Amazing Spider-Man and this title, so there's a lot going on. And the Spider-Man side of things, that's definitely one I recommend though. It's better than like ASM actually is in my opinion. This next issue, though, this is probably the one I'm the most excited for, even though Amazing Spider-Man was probably actually the biggest release of the week. This is one that's not on too many people's radars. Look at this insane cover. It's Avengers issue number 66, but more importantly, this is Avengers Assemble Part 8. So we're really nearing the end game of this 10-part Avengers Assemble event. It's like the big culmination for Jason Aaron's Avengers run, right? So insane covers like this really just gives you an idea of like the multiversal scale of this story. Jason Aaron has been building up to this story across a couple Avengers titles, and it's all culminated in this. I've gotten like some criticism for this event, some people disagreeing with me in the comments about enjoying it so much, right? It's definitely not something that you'll be confirmed to really enjoy because there's just so much going on and so many like new multiverse characters to the point where you won't really feel any emotional connection to any of them. And Jason Aaron doesn't seem to be prioritizing like crafting any sort of connection to any characters. It really is just an insane story. So don't expect anything too like emotionally driving necessarily, but I will say this is just an enjoyable event because it's so high stakes and so huge. Like we've got Galactus on there. We've got like huge armies of Mephistos and these multiversal assemblies of heroes and the Avenger Prime that's at the center of it all. I definitely recommend this. It's like the largest scale story you could possibly tell at Marvel. Really cool. That's Avengers Assemble Part 8. Next up, though, we've got another good series. This is the one I was talking about earlier. The other ongoing series by Jed MacKay. This is Moon Knight number 21. So we're pretty far into this series at this point. I'm not sure how long they plan on keeping to put out these issues, but they've managed to maintain the same creative team for these 21 issues, which, although it's not that big of a number, it can't be said for most Marvel series, right? So artwork is still remaining really strong in this series. That's another highlight of it. And if I'm remembering correctly from last issue, we had like these two kind of B-list villains that were going around and taking down all of these past people that had connections to Moon Knight in his life, probably from like old Moon Knight runs. So I wasn't really familiar with any of the characters, but it was like I guess the strange thing about it was that these two like B-lister villains were managing to get through the city through some sort of connection to some higher power that they have. So Moon Knight trying to track them down, doing his detective work with the Midnight Mission, and look at like the colors and the artwork here, and the sharp artwork by Alessandro Cappuccio. So this title is remaining strong so far. There's really great splash pages like this one. And although it's pretty deep into the series, I do recommend starting from the beginning if you're able to, because there's not really too many great jumping on points. But yeah, I'll be really curious to see how they continue on with this and what the deal is with this new arc. Moon Knight is staying strong as one of my favorite titles. Jed MacKay is writing Avengers and that new Doctor Strange run too, so he's like a big writer at Marvel right now. We'll see about that. Next up, though, the last issue I got from Marvel and the last actual new issue that came out this week that I picked up. This one is Fantastic Four number 5. Probably the best cover of the week by Alex Ross here. I can't really say the same for the interiors, though, if I'm being completely honest. I don't know how many of you guys are also picking up this new Fantastic Four run. I'm really curious to know what you're thinking of it so far down in the comments, because I've got kind of mixed feelings. I think overall it's not my favorite, just compared to like Dan Slott's run, right, which was the one right before. I loved how he tackled like the family dynamic of the Fantastic Four and everything. It felt like a perfectly well-balanced comic. But going from that to this, we had like the first 3 issues were focusing on different members of the Fantastic Four, and they weren't even together. And now we have like an explanation for why they were apart. I'm not going to get too into it because it's a very confusing explanation that had to do with time travel that got all of the other members really angry at Reed Richards specifically. But now that they're back together, we're just leading up to this 700th issue of Fantastic Four, right? Which is actually number 7, I think, of this series, so it should be in a couple months. I mainly just want to ride this out until then, but yeah, the dialogue by Ryan North is like a little bit clunky at times. It feels like there's way too many words on each page. So really not liking this run too much so far, to be completely honest, but we'll see how this goes. This looks like it might be like a negative zone issue or something like that. We'll see. If you are reading this, I am curious, like I said, to know what you're thinking of it so far. But that's Fantastic Four number 5. Lastly, I won't spend too long on this one, but this is another issue which came out a couple weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks now ago, that I forgot to add to my pull list, but so I just got it in after ordering it. This is Once Upon a Time at the End of the World number 4, one of my favorite ongoing series from Boom Studios. It's also written by Jason Aaron, and it just has to do with these 2 characters navigating the end of the world, right? One of them comes from like this rich place from before the apocalypse. He lived in like a mansion where he was able to survive off of it for forever until he came across this girl that was passing by in the apocalypse who had a much harder life surviving, right? So it's just kind of the dynamic between them. And it's really well done. I really like Jason Aaron's like character studies of these 2 characters navigating the apocalypse. So I definitely recommend this one. It's like kind of an epic story, but at the same time very like down to earth, and there's not too much going on. It's not like a spectacle by any means. So really interested about this one to see where it goes, and I recommend it. I think it's getting like a bunch of extra printing, so maybe that's not one that's too under the radar for people. But that was my new comics haul for this week, guys. I appreciate you watching. Let me know what you guys picked up down in the comment section below, or which issues you're looking forward to the most this week, what your favorites were if you've already read them. We're also getting close to that 500 subscriber milestone, so if you're not already subbed up to the channel and you've been liking the content, make sure to hit that subscribe button right below the video. I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you next week for episode 103. Bye, guys.